On January 3rd, Nicole Vajkovic was on a ride-along with Officer Rhonda Lastly in her patrol car when an emergency call came in over the radio. A man was stranded in the icy Skagit River. Officer Lastly quickly thought to contact the caretaker of Steelhead Park, who in turn contacted Bruce Engel. Bruce had just left the park with his boat. Bruce, Nicole, and Officer Lastly met at the park, dispatched Bruce's boat together, and found the man clinging to a log jam. They maneuvered the boat around treacherous logs, pulled the man to safety, and rushed him to the paramedics in time to save his life. The Mount Baker chapter is honored to recognize Nicole Vajkovic, Bruce Engel, and Officer Rhonda Lastly as the 2013 Water Rescue Heroes.
I pulled my boat out, and we talked with the caretaker, Willard Cease. Talked with him for, 10 minutes or so, and anyhow, I headed out.
When the call came in, I just looked at Nicole and I said, Nicole, call your dad, see if he has somebody that can put a boat in the water right now. That man only has about 15 minutes. County wasn't going to get there in time. And it was going to be a recovery, not a rescue.
And so I was talking with my dad the whole time while she was up trying to get a boat, so we could figure out, like, if we did get a boat, where to go approximately.
I get maybe a mile away from the club, and he calls me and he says, "Get back here, we've got a guy in the river." So I did a proper turnaround and anyhow proceeded to slightly exceed the speed limit.
I described it as a plane landing as he pulled in his truck with the boat.
Felt fairly certain that I knew who we were looking for, at least a description of where he was. I mean, I was just there not too long ago.
There was responders on one side, and they were calling at you, and then there was people, they were in their fishing gear, they were in four-wheelers, they were on four-wheelers, but they were all trying to help in some way. You could tell that they were canvassing the side of the river, they were pointing like they knew that there was someone farther up and we needed to keep going. There was so many people ready to just drop everything and help at that moment, because it was January in the Skagit River and everyone knew how important it was to get to this man as fast as possible.
I heard Rhonda explaining to Nicole to be watching on the sides, looking on the log, see if he's grabbed a hold of a log, see if he's got to shore somehow, so we're not bypassing him. And just about that time, at the top end of the log jam, I could see his hand. At first, I thought it was a stick, until you figure out his stick's got fingers. I pulled into the log jam, which is most generally something you don't want to do. And anyhow, Rhonda ran up there and grabbed a hold of Mr. Childs, and I put it in the neutral so it started to back us out just a little bit, and she got him off of the log. And I'll not forget this part, but I looked at Nicole.
Well, Nicole was there with me. We were trying to pull him aboard, but we were trying to pull him backwards.
He looked like, in that moment, like he was giant. He's actually shorter than me, but in my idea, he was just this huge, he was the biggest guy I'd ever seen,
But anyhow, I looked at Nicole and I said, "You run the boat." And she gave me this big-eyed look like I've never been in a boat before in my life. And I didn't even give it a second thought. It was like, well, you're going to learn, right? And I went up front and I latched on to Mr. Child, same as Rhonda was.
What we also both learned at that moment is Nicole is an excellent boat operator.
Oh, absolutely.
She knew exactly what she was doing, and Bruce even at one point said, "Get us closer, now just hold it steady." And she operated that boat like the captain of the Love Boat. I mean, it was just smooth.
The thing that was going through my mind when he relinquished power of the boat to me was, I don't want us to be the other three that they have to rescue out of the water. Because I'm looking at where he just pulled us into, and there is logs sticking out of every side.
It was like a porcupine.
It was literally like a porcupine. And I was just like, what if our engine hits one of those? We are going to be, all the way up the creek without a paddle.
And we got him up there.
The fourth time is when he came.
And and then you took over running the boat again, and then you were just giving us directions, get him all the way to the floor, block the wind for him. From the time the original call came out to the time we reported having him in the boat was just over 15 minutes.
I have no rescue training previously from this, and I'm looking at him and he is purple. And all I can think of is in health class, like hypothermia. And I'm thinking, okay, so if he knows he's cold, he at least is like coherent enough to know he's cold, right? So I asked this poor man probably 35 times if he was cold. And by the end of it, I'm pretty sure he just wanted to punch me if he could. But every time I said it, he would answer me and he would say yes.
The emergency room doctor, if I remember correctly, informed Mr. Childs that 5, maybe 10 minutes was all he had.
The paramedics got him in the ambulance, they transported him to United, and we all separated.
It feels wonderful to have helped save someone's life. He was able to go home to his wife.